All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm on here a lot sooner than I said I was, huh? Turns out it's hot outside. And staying out in the heat for too long does not do good for the skin, nor does it do good for literally anything else. You in the heat, it's over. It's only a matter of time. The countdown begins when the moment you hit 80-degree weather with 51% humidity. At some point, you are going to have to make a decision in your life where you wager, do I stay or do I go? I'm really thinking about my options here. What's my motivation, Jesus? What do I do? Take the wheel, because I'm too hot and bothered to even try and figure some things out. But we're home now. And now we get started with some One Piece. Let's begin, shall we? Yo, peoples! Qushu 92 here. Welcome back to more One Piece. Last we left out on, the kids have been saved from the fire, but now we got to deal with the fact that Gunko has landed on the little mini spar that Kowloon and some of the other Straw Hats are on top of right now. So let's begin with chapter 1146, Motion in Stillness. And we have some more continuations of Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 31, I'll never forget the debt I owe you. I'll be your follower for life. So now we have Ulti following Yamato because Yamato saved Ulti in page 1. And even Minatomo and Tama are just looking like, what? And even Yamato's all like, yeah, okay, you ain't gotta be so dramatic about it. But Ulti crying her eyes out and saying like, I'll follow you for the rest of my days. Because, you know, she's incredibly appreciative of Yamato saving them from Who's Who. Let's see what happens after Gunko landed on this far with the Straw Hats. Here's something I want to bring up. Remember, Gunko was listening to New World, which is a song that Brook made. Brook is with some of the other Straw Hats on this far. Last time I checked. And if he is with them, then the interaction between Gunko and Brook should be quite interesting, considering she likes his music. Let's see. Oh! And we have Usopp going, hey, who are you? I'm guessing it's
an intruder. Intruder? One of the human intruders who the castle guards couldn't handle.
And then Nami gets her climate tech out going,
you're the ones who are kidnapping the children, then?
And then Gunko tugs on her hat and just goes, you dare call me a human? We are gods! Gods? You sound like Eneru or the Celestial Dragons. The fact that Eneru got mentioned! We haven't had a mention of Eneru in years! So it's nice that Usopp remembers him. Mind you, for us, it has been a ton of years since Eneru has had even a single mention within this story. And most of us just know the last time we saw him is, well, he went to the moon and started talking to the moon people. And that's the last time we saw him or ever had any other mention of him. So, and mind you, chronologically, it's only been 2 years. So I'm pretty sure they would remember his name. But Usopp goes, gods? You sound like Eneru or the Celestial Dragons.
What would gods want with the children of Elbaf? Yeah, what she said. Those are my friends.
And it shows the children are still walking because she's still directing them.
Where are you taking them? Give back my friends. Hold your tongue, boy. We'd prefer a simpler method. But at that size, our options are limited.
As it shows, Ripley and Frankie pretty much... Oh, Frankie brought down one of the sleep dids. Frankie brought down the sleep dids. Oh, he used Frankie Radical Beam! He used the Frankie Radical Beam to bring down not only the sleep dids, but Ripley is also taking care of Lilith and Bonnie as well. But yeah...
We'd prefer a simpler method, but at that size, our options are limited. So they'll just have to walk. We will take them to the Holy Land via an appropriate route.
The Holy Land? Marie Joie?
And and a lot of people call it Mary Joyce or Mary Joyce, but I feel like it's Marie Joie because the ending of it is spelled the same way that you say the word bourgeois. So for me personally, it is Marie Joie.
The Holy Land? Marie Joie?
Are you a celestial dragon then?
What? You mean those ugly, annoying... Wait! You don't look like the ones I'm thinking of!
And Brooke still hasn't said anything. And then he goes, I suspect it's something above that. The Holy Knights. How does Brooke know of the Holy Knights? Hold up, full stop. How does Brooke know of the Holy Knights? The Straw Hats don't know anything about the Celestial Dragons other than their interactions with St. Charlos and some of the others. But they don't know anything about the Holy Knights. How does Brooke know? How does he know about the Holy Knights? The first time we heard of the Holy Knights came from the revolutionaries, and no one else said anything about the Holy Knights. But how does Brooke know? I suspect it's something above that. The Holy Knights.
The very same.
Does that mean you're capturing all those kids to turn them into slaves? Ah! Hey, what's that arrow doing?
And an arrow's right next to Usopp.
You'll do no such thing.
Oh no, Nami's the one who says,
You'll do no such thing! Zeus!
Did you call for me, Nami?
Ah! Why does it keep chasing me? Get off!
And Usopp is running for his life.
Thunder Shark!
Tempo!
And then using Zeus, she turned Zeus into like a thundercloud shark shape. And while he shoots forward, Gunko uses her arrow fruit power to literally force Zeus to change directions. Huh?
One day, the world as we know it will cease to exist. Or so we thought.
Run, Nami! Look out! As Zeus comes in, and Nami gets zapped by her own lightning. That has never happened before. Nami got electrocuted. Let that sink in. This is the first time we've seen that happen. Nami got zapped by her own lightning. I'm sorry!
Nami!
And then Gunko is quiet. Oh, never mind. Yoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. It was Brooke. And it was him screaming, ah! I'm sorry!
Nami!
It's me.
What? You?
And Nami is completely fine. Okay. Oda, you got me with the subverting expectations there. I thought that Nami got zapped by her own lightning for once. Wow. So much for that. It's me. What? You? Thank you. Because Zeus is thankful that he didn't zap Nami by mistake. Something's in my nose and it's bothering me. Hold on, I gotta get it out. It's distracting me. All right, I'm back. I thought that Nami got zapped by the lightning, but Brook took the hit. And, since he ain't got nothing that can actually harm him in his skeletal state, he's fine. It's me. What? You? Thank you. So, Gunko says,
one day, the world as we know it will cease to exist. Or so we thought.
And then she continues.
But a small number of humans realized it and warned the world of the danger.
Bruh, the people that Gunko are referring to that a small number of humans realized it include Clover, Vegapunk, and Nico Robin's mom. She knew! She knew!
But a small number of humans realized it and warned the world of the danger.
And then Usopp goes to aim at Gunko, and he fires, and she's looking. And then she gets engulfed in the
Bullseye!
with his explosive exploding star.
You thought we'd be intimidated by a celestial dragon?
Ah! You didn't have to be...
And Gunko's entire upper torso is gone.
You didn't have to be so gruesome, Usopp!
I'm sorry! I didn't mean to blow your upper half up!
The Holy Knights are immortal. The Holy Knights are immortal. All of them. They're all immortal. She's regenerating. It's not just a Gorosei. The Holy Knights have been blessed with immortality too. Oh, they're immortal. And they're all watching as Gunko reforms and regenerates.
What?
Huh?
I felt bad for her, but the way she's regenerating, it's really gross. Ugh.
You're right. It's really creepy seeing someone come back to life. And everyone is silent considering that Brook has come back to life due to the nature of his Yomi Yomi no Mi.
And now... It is unstoppable. No one can stop it.
And Gunko starts sliding towards Usopp.
Ah! I had a feeling! These arrows are pointing towards the targets of her attacks!
We've got this one, Usopp. And Jinbei and Brook will walk up. It would be the height of folly to take a hit as predicted.
The countdown has begun. A vast war will ensue and drag the entire world into it.
As it shows Dory and Bragi and Scopper Gabin, they're basically taking down the Sleeptids.
And which side the giants pledge their allegiance to will have a profound effect on the outcome of the war.
The whole world at war? That would never happen!
So you're trying to seize control of Elbaf in preparation for it? By taking children as hostages? What cheap cowardice!
I perform my duty as commanded, but it could all be for nothing. The lives of a few children might as well be trash to me. I do not understand the concept of hostages.
What's wrong with you? You got a few screws loose?
And then, while Gunko is sliding towards them, Kowloon brandishes a sword and goes,
I'll fight you!
And then all of a sudden, Gunko proceeds to wrap a arrow around his neck. And he starts slowly choking.
Kowloon!
5,000 brick! Gavote! And then Gunko has arrows go around her, and not only do the attacks of Jinbei and Brook completely miss her, but she redirects them into each other. So Brook gets hit by Senmai Garasekin, and Jinbei gets jabbed by Gavote Bundavant. And is this Gunko? She's using
Alloy.
And her attack name is Alloy, and it pretty much just redirects these attacks around her while she keeps sliding forward. And then an arrow appears right underneath Nami, and she gets kicked in the face by Gunko. When was the last time Nami's been injured? It's been a hot minute since anyone's actually injured Nami, but she gets kicked away by Gunko.
Nami! Take this!
And an arrow appears directly in front of Usopp, and he panics as Gunko directs her knee directly into Usopp's face. Gunko is just one-shotting all of these Straw Hats. And And while all that's happening, meanwhile, both Brooke and Jinbei got knocked off. They all got knocked off the ship. They all got knocked off the ship while Kowloon is being strangled by Gunko. And who is this speaking? How's it looking? How's it looking? You all set up Killingham? I can't tell if this is Gunko or if this is Somers, Saint Somers who's speaking. You all set up Killingham? The means of communication are so inadequate in Elbaf. But no kidding. No kidding. But it seems like every village and important facility has its own transmission tool. And then there's a kabam sound back at the school.
No! Principal Tusk!
And it's Killingham, who is basically suplexing Principal Tusk. Corner, nice hard corner. And he proceeds to basically just pile drive Tusk and incapacitate him. He broke one of Principal Tusk's tusks. And then Anji's been harmed as well.
I can't move.
Yes, that's because your body has been slumberized. It's this big one, right? I've never heard of a transponder pillbug. Try talking through the transponder snail. Try talking through the transponder snail, Somers. This should send it all across Elbaf. All right, I'll give it a shot. Just give me a minute first, Killingham. He's almost down. And Killingham has been fighting Saul this whole time. Has him surrounded in thorns. This is the guy who should have died at O'Hara, the former Vice Admiral. Robin, Chopper, don't come out. Stay hidden around the back of my head. But Robin and Chopper are hiding within the hair of Saul so that they won't be found out. You gotta help. Rescue the children for me. You gotta. Come on, fall forward. And Saul falls face first into the thorns that Somers has him surrounded by. And down he goes. And while he's falling, we hear this loud R sound, as Robin can't do anything but listen to Saul's screams. Schools, libraries, and it also appears that Somers is capable of channeling his power into his sword, I'm guessing, because his sword has become this giant spiky kanabo. Thorny, might as well call it a thorny, made his sword thorny somehow. Schools, libraries, what kind of peace-loving nonsense is this? You people are warriors! You're going to use the vicious, violent power that once terrified the world in service to us as mercenaries. Isn't that right, King Harold? And then stupid Harold had to go and screw it all up! And that's the end of the chapter. Wow. So much for me thinking that Gunko was going to have something immediate to say about Brooke. I want to say Prajapati. And then Yash Jain. Hello. Welcome if this is your first time here. Wow. So Gunko basically just mops the floor with the Straw Hat crew. She starts strangling Kowloon. We get confirmation that apparently the Holy Knights are also immortal because Usopp shot Gunko. Let it be known that Usopp shot Gunko with enough power to basically dismember an average person. So if someone survives that, they are beyond normal. If anyone has ever survived Usopp's shots like this, then that means they're beyond normal. Because this pardon me, this completely obliterated her entire upper torso, and she immediately started regenerating. So now we got confirmation that apparently the Holy Knights are immortal as well. It's not just limited to the Gorosei. So that just made things 10 times more difficult, because even Luffy, with the power of Gear 5, and even using armament haki along with his Gear 5 state, still couldn't permanently put down Saturn or any other member of the Gorosei with his attacks, even when he was at his most free. So now we have to concern ourselves with the opponents versus the Straw Hats, who are effectively immortal. It's not just the Gorosei we got to worry about now. But yeah, Gunko basically just wipes the floor with all of them. So, y'all know what we do. We always go to the synopsis so we can go over it. And we're not going on break from this chapter either. Hold on. Let me put chat up here. CDs, good to see you as well. Prajapati, good to see you here as well. Ozzy, it's good to see you here as well. Hold on. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. All right. Let's see. Jinbei surmises that Gunko was one of the human intruders that injured the castle guards, while Nami deduces she is the one who is kidnapping the children. Gunko, however, takes offense to being called a human and declares herself a god. Much to the confusion of the others, Nami and Kowloon demand Gunko tell them what she is planning on doing with the children and to give them back at once. But Gunko tells Kowloon to shut it while she explains that because the children are so large, they needed to do things this way. But she reveals they are going to take them to Marijois. Jinbei asks if Gunko is a world noble, even though Usopp points out how she looks different from the ones he has seen before. But Brook surprisingly deduces she is a member of the God's Knights, the Holy Knights, to the shock of the others and to the confirmation of Gunko. So that's something interesting. Brook knows about the Holy Knights. Usopp asks if she is kidnapping the kids to make them slaves, as Gunko has one of her arrows chase after him. Nami refuses to let Gunko take the children as she summons Zeus, who she then turns into a shark and sends at Gunko. Unfortunately, Gunko redirects Zeus back at her while saying that originally, the world as they know it was supposed to vanish without anyone realizing it. Just as Zeus seemingly strikes Nami, only for it to be revealed to be Brook who shielded her. Gunko continues saying that a few people figured out the truth and warned the world as Usopp blasts her with his pop greens. To even his surprise, it looks as though he completely obliterated Gunko's upper half. But to everyone's horror, she regenerates as she says nothing can stop the countdown as she aims for Usopp, who figures the arrow signifies her target. Jinbei, Nami, and Brook try to redirect it away from him as Gunko declares that a vast war that will consume the world will begin, and whoever side the giants take will greatly affect the war's outcome, thus explaining their desire to force Elbaf to join the world government. So Gunko is basically just saying that the world we know it of One Piece should not even exist now. Hold on, family's home with food. I know I'm stepping away. It's been a very, very busy day, but let me help them out real quick. I'll be right back. Hold on. Don't worry, I'll cut this out in editing. Sorry, talking to family. We had a good time today. All right, let's go back to what I was reading. Let's see. Usopp asks if kidnapping the children to make them slaves. If she's kidnapping the children to make them slaves, as Gunko has one of her arrows chase after him. Nami refuses to let Gunko take the children as she summons Zeus, who she then turns into a shark and sends at Gunko. Unfortunately, Gunko redirects Zeus back at her while saying that originally the world as we know it was supposed to vanish without anyone realizing. First, can we just talk about that? What do you mean the world of One Piece as we know it was supposed to vanish without anyone realizing? What does that even mean? What do you mean it was supposed to disappear? Let's see. Just as Zeus seemingly strikes Nami, only for it to be revealed to be Brook, who shielded her. Gunko continues saying that a few people figured out the truth and warned the world as Usopp blasts her with his pop greens. To even his surprise, it looks as though he completely obliterated Gunko's upper half. But to everyone's horror, she regenerates as she says nothing can stop the countdown as she aims for Usopp, who figures the arrow signifies her target. Jinbei, Nami, and Brook try to redirect it away from him as Gunko declares that a vast war that will consume the world will begin, and whoever side the giants take will greatly affect the war's outcome, thus explaining their desire to force Elbaf to join the world government, because they want the advantage of the giants so that they can survive the war. Nami refuses to believe such a thing could happen, while Jinbei calls Gunko and the world government cowards for trying this method. Gunko simply states she is just following orders. But with that said, she states she could not care less about the lives of the children, who she sees as just trash, prompting the Straw Hats to call her crazy. Kowloon steps forward to fight her, but she wraps an arrow around his neck and starts carrying him away. Both Jinbei and Brook try to attack Gunko, but she uses a move called Alloy to make their attacks hit each other and fall overboard. Gunko then kicks Nami off the ship before landing a devastating blow on Usopp. Meanwhile, Sommers communicates with Killingham. I figured it was him, that's the reason why I used the voice, who had just defeated Kiba and Anji, the latter's body having been immobilized by Killingham's Minsuika ability. Minsuika ability. Sommers tells Killingham that Elbaf's methods of communication are inadequate, which he agrees with. But he states every village and important facility in the country has its own tool. He approaches a Dengo Mushi, not even a Denden Mushi, but a Dengo Mushi. He approaches a Dengo Mushi and tells Sommers to talk to it via the Denden Mushi, which should transmit his voice all over Elbaf. Sommers says he will get to it once he finishes up his fight with Saul, who he is surprised to learn survive Ohada's destruction. Saul tells Robin and Chopper to remain hiding in his hair and not to come out as he begs them to save the children just as he collapses from his injuries. Afterwards, Sommers voices his refusal to accept that the giants are a peaceful race now. According to him, they should be using their incredible power to serve the world government as mercenaries. But apparently, Harold changed all of that, which Sommers heavily resents him for. So, quick chapter notes. Gunko confronts Kowloon and the Straw Hat pirates and identifies herself as a god. I know some people call him Colon. It's probably Colon, and I'm probably just being overly theatric by calling him Kowloon. So his name is probably just pronounced Colon, and I've just been doing it wrong this whole time. Brook realizes Gunko must be a member of the God's Knights to the surprise of the others, and to the surprise of the reader, because it makes me wonder, how does Brook know about the Holy Knights? Because they're above even the Celestial Dragons themselves. And that alone is only known to like a certain number of people. Only those in the know about the hierarchy of Marijois know about the Holy Knights. So it really makes me wonder how Brook knows. Gunko reveals their intentions to kidnap the children of Elbaf and bring them to Marijois. Nami, Zeus, Brook, Usopp, and Jinbei try to fight off Gunko, but she defeats them with her powers. Now, let's just put this into perspective here. One of these members that is with the rest of the Straw Hats is an incredibly powerful fishman, if not the most powerful fishman that we have witnessed in the series thus far. And that's in comparison to Hody Jones, Jinbei far outclasses him in strength, because there's not a ton of strong fishmen out there that we have witnessed, but Jinbei is pretty much at the top of strongest that we have ever seen. And Gunko easily wipes the floor with Jinbei, Brook, Nami, and Usopp with just relative ease. Nami and Usopp, not really surprised that they got washed like that. But Brook is capable in his own right. Very capable. Jinbei even more so. And Gunko just basically one-shots all of them, making the attacks of Brook and Jinbei hit each other, sending them overboard, taking out Nami, sending her overboard, and then landing what pretty much the most brutal hit on Usopp. Usopp is always getting punished. Joker's always getting his nose broke, always getting hit in the face, teeth flying out. He suffers some of the worst injuries we see from any Straw Hat. And we've seen Luffy, Zoro, and even Sanji suffer some injuries, but Usopp gets the worst of it. This dude got kneed in the face so hard, you saw his whole head bend around the knee. He ain't got Gear 5, but his face bent like it was. Gunko easily just trounces the rest of the Straw Hats. Easily. Not only that, but you mean to tell me she's immortal too? So even Usopp hitting her with one of his pop greens that basically blew up her entire upper body where only her legs were left standing, and she just regenerated just like the elders. Which means that if any of these holy knights fail in their mission, we could wind up seeing yet another individual having their immortality stripped away and them basically dying on the spot. Because we don't know how old these members of the holy knights are. That for all we know, they could be as old as Saturn, and they were granted immortality over 200 years ago. We don't know how old they are. Maybe this is a fight for Zoro or Sanji. No. Not Sanji. Sanji don't hit women, so he's literally the worst possible person to send up against Gunko. He makes no exceptions. He's effectively useless. There's a reason why people don't choose Sanji all the time in Pirate Warriors 4. Because at any given moment, you could probably run into a woman there and all of your attacks would basically do nothing. So Sanji is definitely the worst possible person to match up against Gunko. Zoro, he has no qualms. He does not. So let me get back to this. Let's see. Gunko mentions that the world is headed towards a disastrous war, as it is supposed to, and that Elbaf's involvement can greatly shape the outcome. Also, Gunko possesses the ability to regenerate her body from injuries, similar to most of the 5 elders. Gunko captures Colin. Ripley carries Lilith and Bonnie to safety as Frankie takes out the MMAs pursuing them. Remo Shifu-Killingham defeats Anji, and Kiba and takes over Elbaf's Denden Muji system. Shepard Sommers defeats Saul, who urges Chopper and Robin to remain hidden no matter what before he falls unconscious. And Sommers curses Harold for complicating their plans by trying to make the Giants pacifists. So the world government has wanted to take control of Elbaf for a long time, even during the time of King Harold. But King Harold wanted an era of peace, thus throwing a wrench in the plans of the world government. So now, since we keep bringing up Harold every so often. Not only that, but one other thing that I need to mention throughout this entire reaction before I even move on is that in one panel, we have Loki and Luffy who have been overly stuffed with food. This is when Gunko is saying a vast war will ensue and drag the entire world into it. And which side the Giants pledge their allegiance to will have a profound effect on the outcome of the war. In this specific panel, it shows Loki just basically stuffed with food. And you can see his size in comparison to Harudin. Harudin, literally standing next to Loki, looks like a child in size next to Loki, and Loki is just incredibly tall. I mean, we always knew that he was just a very big individual, but seeing Harudin stand next to him, Loki is massive. And Luffy is also stuffed with food as well, so they both have fat bellies. But yeah, this is where we're at right now. The giants will help decide the fate of the big giant war that's about to hit the world. I'm still stuck over the fact that Olvia found out that the world was coming to a horrific end. Like the world was about to end, and she warned people about it. Clover found out and he was warning people about it. Vegapunk found out and he warned people about it. That was his big old speech. Olvia knew and Clover knew. All of those people knew. But now we got a giant disastrous war that, and my thing is that if Gunko is saying that this is going to be a disastrous world war, this is the very thing that Kaido wanted. Let's start the greatest war the world has ever seen. It's a shame Kaido isn't here to enjoy what is about to befall the entire world right now. So as it stands, everything we saw from Marineford, the even bigger war for Wano that we saw between Kaido and the Straw Hats and pretty much everyone else who was fighting, the samurai included, everything happening at Egghead, everything happening on Elbaf right now has absolutely will not hold a candle to the war that is going to basically decide the fate of the Blue Planet, essentially decide the fate of the world of One Piece. What we saw when Whitebeard went to go get Ace, and all the fighting we saw then, all the massive amounts of fights, all the powers, all the capabilities and the strength of individuals, the Whitebeard pirates fighting, the Blackbeard pirates showing up, Shanks showing up, all these big names we saw back then, all the big names we saw during the war on the raid on Onigashima, and the big titanic fight between Luffy and Kaido that resulted in Kaido being beaten, and it also and the fighting also included Big Mom, and she got defeated as well. What we thought was a war against Whitebeard, we thought that it was just a big gigantic titanic war. But here, this war that is going to involve the world itself, the biggest war that we have ever seen in One Piece, Marineford won't hold a candle to it. Wano won't hold a candle to it. Everything that happened on Egghead and what's currently happening on Elbaf will not compare to it. This is going to be a war that involves everyone. World War III, if you will. World War III, if you will. This is the final saga, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final saga of One Piece. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up because I still got some very hot food here that I need to eat, and then we'll move on to Sakamoto Days, and then I'll get started on my reaction of the newest One Piece episode. Wow. The fact, what do you mean the world was supposed to not even supposed to exist? Hold on, let me go back. Let me see. One day, the world as we know it will cease to exist, or so we thought. But a small number of humans realized it and warned the world of the danger. So essentially, actually, the flooding, the world being doused in water and completely sink into the sea. Yo, hi, Dragon, good to see you. Maybe all the other pirates are going to join with Luffy. I mean, Mihawk did say that the most dangerous power that Luffy has is being able to turn anyone into his ally. But what we need to discuss here is that the world that Vegapunk was warning us about was supposed to be the world that no one was supposed to really pay attention to, and then everyone was supposed to perish. The world as we know it was supposed to cease to exist. But because Clover, because Nico Olvia, because of Vegapunk, people have been warned beforehand. Which was apparently something the world government didn't want anyone else to realize. Bible fan fiction for real? What are you even talking about? Do you think we meant when they used a weapon long ago and it didn't happen successfully? My thing is, because of the ancient weapons, that is what caused the world to start flooding now. The overuse of the ancient weapons is what caused this rise in water to slowly engulf the world over the past 100 years. And it's still rising, and I feel like every use of the ancient weapons keeps devastating the planet, and that's what causes the water to rise. The world flooding in the Ark of Noah. I mean, there are motifs and different things that Oda does include. Wouldn't call it Bible fan fiction though, but both exist in One Piece. True, it does, and the Bible does as well because it's the book that Kuma is always holding. I mean, before he got his mind wiped, he was a priest watching over his family's church. So there's a lot of biblical references within One Piece, but it's not just the only thing that Oda references. He just uses tons of materials, so it's not just that one particular thing. But apparently the world was supposed to flood and no one was supposed to know. But because people have been informed, people are preparing, and that has thrown a wrench in the plans of the world government, where they were basically just going to allow the world to just cease to exist as they know it. But because of Vegapunk, Clover, and Nico Robin's mom, they informed others about it. So now they gotta. There's so much plot holes in the series that needs to connect. It's not plot holes if Oda has not resolved them yet. It's not plot holes. It's just that Oda hasn't revealed it yet. So while it may seem like, oh, there's a whole bunch going on that we don't know, we've already been teased about stuff that Oda has not expanded upon. Some people may call it plot holes, but plot holes basically means, okay, you explain this, you introduce this thing, but you haven't explained it, and now you're just moving on from it. That hasn't happened. We've been told all sorts of things. We have been hinted at a whole bunch of things. Oda has to get around to it. Oda, for real, is 2 steps ahead? No, it's 3. It is 3 steps ahead. Because Oda's been teasing things way back at the beginning of the story that we didn't find out until later on. And it's not a matter of like Oda didn't figure out things that back then. It's just that he teased it and then then just expanded upon it later on. So yeah, Oda is definitely 2 steps ahead. I mean, the dude spent like, what, 3 months? I want to say it was like either 2 months or 3 months just away from making chapters, just so he could finalize the final saga. The story for Oda is done. He is just giving us his completed work. He's already done finalizing it, which means that everything that happens in One Piece is final. There won't be any changes, and we'll just move on until the end. I wonder if he did this One Piece as a child or teen. I mean, it was back in 1997 when he started. I want to say it was 1997 when he started. Hold on. Let me get the exact date. Okay, the anime is 1999. He's 50 years old. Yeah, 28 years. 28 years. And he's 50 years old. So subtract 28 years from 50. Because this series is very long. Don't read Detective Conan then, because that's already in like 1900 chapters right now. But yeah, he 50 years old, 28 years. So if we calculate that, I'm using a calculator, I'm cheating. 50 minus 28. He was around 22. He was around 22 when he started One Piece. He's 50 now. He's 50 now. He's been doing One Piece for essentially 28 years. It's been a minute. Almost 30 years of him doing One Piece. And now we're getting the final saga for the series. We're getting the final works because this man put so much detail to the story to be this long. Yeah, a lot of good artists do. And the thing is, we don't have to wait months at a time for a book or chapters to be finished. Looking at you, George R.R. Martin, taking 47 years to write one book? Can't be that good. It can't be that good. Game of Thrones, it was good. A Song of Ice and Fire, of course, it was adapted well into a TV series, and then whoever was writing for the series at season 8 pretty much just ruined every single bit of character development and every value for your show. So I blame them. But unlike George R.R. Martin, Oda gives this story to us on a regular basis. So that's the reason why it makes these reactions so much more hype, because we don't know where Oda's going to go. The good thing about Oda as a storyteller is that he is, most of the time, unpredictable. I guess when it ends, we will learn what made him start this One Piece, what gave him this idea. I mean, let's just find out. Let's just look it up. Right here. Let's see. Oda created One Piece because he had a lifelong passion for creating manga and a desire to tell a story about pirates since he was a child. He started developing the idea for One Piece early in his life, exploring different versions of the story before committing to the definitive version. Oda's goal was to create a manga that captured the spirit of adventure and freedom while also exploring themes of friendship, dreams, and the pursuit of a goal. And apparently, Oda wanted to create a manga since he was 4. So that desire to create a manga was back when he was a literal child. And it has turned into one of the biggest stories, one of the biggest series in the entire world. The desire to create a manga at 4 years old has turned it into a global phenomenon now, where the anime is at the peak of its level. The manga is at the peak of its level. Video games are just giving you peak after peak after peak after peak. We're still getting more content for Pirate Warriors 4. I'm just waiting for them to say something. Tell me, say something. I guess when it ends, we'll learn he probably started imagining One Piece when he was much younger. Younger here, though. Yep. Back when he was 4 years old, he wanted to make a manga. As he got older, freedom, huh? Exactly. This dude had things. Even back then, he had rough ideas about Eventual Gear 5 and the whole thing of fate and freedom. You know, like being the Pirate King is the person who's most free. He now has that freedom to do basically whatever he wants. 4, he had to be darn smart and all for him to have that awareness. I wouldn't say that. All it takes is just that one interaction when you're a child for it to stick with you, to have a profound impact. I don't think you have to be incredibly smart for it to stick with you. It just needs to leave an impression. 4, I was being trained. All it takes is just that one moment in your life, even as a child, for it to stick with you for the rest of your life, and for it to have a definitive impact on your life. And for Oda, reading manga as a kid made him want to create manga, and now he's created one of the greatest manga that exists today. That's all it takes. All it takes is just that one spark, and then you get to live out your dream. His parents must have told him, when you start walking, you working or going to school. I wouldn't know. Also, he was Japanese. He always had access to manga. That's true. We didn't get manga until like later on in life for America. Also, it's kind of obvious. I mean, he would have access to manga. It was basically superhero comics for Japan. I mean, for them, that is their comics. For us, we had Marvel, DC, and Dark Horse, and a whole bunch of other different series as well. But yeah, we're getting off topic here. I need to eat my food. Overall, this was a good chapter, but now I'm just wondering, since Gunko has colon, is Gavin going to show up to get his son back? Because we did see Dory and Broggy, but I don't remember seeing Dory. I don't remember seeing Gavin. I see them tearing apart these sleep tids, like stabbing them through the head and ripping their heads off, and then basically just trouncing all of these creatures, Dory and Broggy, but I don't see Gavin in this half double spread panel here. I don't see Gavin at all. So who's to say if Gavin's making his way to go get his son? But there's a lot of things that we'll have to discuss the next time. The east side are way advanced than here. Yes. The east side is way more advanced than here. Man, this really inspired me more now. That's the reason why we keep encouraging you, CDs. Keep doing what you're doing because it will pay off. People will notice. Your gifting will make room for you and put you before great men. That's what the word says. I want to see Gear 6, not going to lie. You're probably not going to see it because Gear 5 is literally Luffy saying, I've reached my peak. This is the maximum of what I can do. It is literally the awakened state of his devil fruit. And I highly doubt he'll go higher than that because we haven't even seen the absolute height of what Gear 5 can even do. So I highly doubt we'll ever see a Gear 6. I highly doubt we'll see a Gear 6 because there's essentially no need for it because Luffy can do anything he wants to in Gear 5. He can already do everything he wants to do in Gear 5, so there's really no need for another level if he can do everything and anything he wants in this Gear 5 state. Thank you, I'll try. Do or do not. There is no try. Yeah, but no, there's no buts. He's at the peak of what he can do. What is beyond being at the absolute peak of what you can do, and you can do any and everything? Shatter your limits. That's the whole point of Gear 5. It is literally him going beyond his own limits and doing essentially whatever he imagines. What is beyond your imagination? That is literally Gear 5. Gear 5 is essentially allowing your imagination using your imagination to achieve anything you want to desire. And that is what Luffy does in Gear 5. What goes beyond your imagination? That would be Gear 6. But it won't exist because there's nothing beyond your imagination when it comes to you doing stuff. If you can achieve any state you want, any form you want, basically do anything you want in Gear 5 using your imagination, there's nothing else left to go. Because your imagination is boundless. What is beyond boundless? That's the reason why Gear 5 exists. But yeah, overall, this is a very good chapter. I gotta get to eating my food right quick. I gotta get to eating it. So sorry to keep you guys waiting. After that, once I'm done eating, then we'll start Sakamoto Days, and then I'll record for the episode. He'll probably max the full power of Gear 5. He just haven't yet, unless the Giant teach him. I wrote it earlier. I'm gonna stick with what I said about Gunko. We'll see. We'll see. I know you're holding out that Gunko becomes a good person in the end, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm done. You've been a wonderful audience. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up before we hit an hour in length for this reaction. Sorry, I tend to drone on when it comes to this story. Hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. And because I know you're coming back anyway. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples.